Welcome to the Impact Sales Tribe VIP call, the first one of the new year. And I thought it would be appropriate to kind of go to something that I've done for many, many years. I think is really, really important in selling environments in general. But I think it's really important when you're talking about how you improve your sales skills as well, that you revisit and think about these things. And that's what I call my New Year kickoff, some things to do to kick off the new year, to get a fast start. And we're going to be talking about that for the first half of today's VIP call. And then we'll open some things up to some questions. Now, I like to call this my kickoff. I've delivered this type of a message in a lot of different environments to a lot of different teams and individuals in a lot of different ways. And I tend to summarize things, but I think it's really important. I actually just did a podcast episode about this particular topic because of the timing, kicking off the year in a big way. So let's jump right in, talk about exactly what it is that it takes to get a fast start. So I think, like with most things, one of the keys to being successful, especially when it comes to specific targets, objectives, initiatives, things that you're working on, and definitely in regards to sales, is you need to keep things as simple as possible. You need to keep things very, very straightforward, very, very bulleted, just as simple as possible so it doesn't overcomplicate things on people. I believe a lot of people struggle with sales because they overcomplicate things. I think a lot of people struggle with sales because they have complicated acquisition systems and complicated sales processes. And it just makes the whole process, well, complicated. It doesn't have to be like that. And when it comes to kicking off a year, there are what I consider to be four very specific things that you need to focus on to have a fast sales start to the new year. Now, for those of you that have been through Impact Sales Master already, you know that some of these things are going to look very, very familiar, but it's important that you draw a line under them, especially as you kick off the new year, as you get started with the new year, because they all play a major role in your success. And we were just talking about this before we started the recording. Sometimes there's this holiday slumber that sets in, and it's amazing to me over the years how many different teams that I've worked with that I've noticed this trend of starting slow at the beginning of the year, and the numbers really don't start improving until the end of January, and then it's February until the results are starting to show up. And it's just not something that people want to fall victim to. So we talked about how to create a fast start, and we're going to talk now specifically about four very, very specific things that will help you get there. So let's jump right into the first. Now, these are not complicated things to consider. These are not complicated topics, but we're going to spend a couple of minutes on each just so we drill down on the importance of them and make sure that you don't fall victim to any of these things. So at the top of the list, number one, make sure that your prospecting and lead generation efforts are set in your calendar for the year, not for the week, not for the month, not for the quarter, for the year, and block them off. Make sure you start the new year, clean slate, brand new year. All the numbers are back at zero. Let's make sure that we block off our prospecting and lead generation efforts in our calendar and do it across the year. Now, why is this so important? And what specifically am I referring to? Well, it's so important because for the reason I just mentioned, but sometimes we phase into these things sometimes a little slow. We put ourselves in a position where, whether we meant to or not, we set ourselves up for failure because we get a slow start. And maybe it's because we take a little time or too much time to shake the rust off or shake the cobwebs out, right? The fact is, especially around the holidays, if you aren't actively working or aren't doing things that you may normally do work-wise, you fall out of practice with those things. You find yourself not focusing on business as much. And look, I'm not advocating we don't celebrate the holidays, of course not. But what I'm saying is, when you start a new year, one of the most important things you can do is go back to the basics of what you need to cover, what you need to have down, what you need to master, what you need to make sure that you're taking care of, as far as taking care of business. And prospecting and lead generation is the first step before you can ever close anybody or or even get to know them, you better be generating them as a prospect or suspect and bring them to you, right? So that can look like a lot of different things. That may be blocking off call times in your calendar to make sure that you're dedicating time to reach out proactively and pick up the phone and call people. It may involve dedicating specific time towards social media marketing in your calendar. But I'm going to tell you, like with most things, if you don't plan them, you'll find that you'll either put them off or not do them at all. And you want to make sure that you get them in your calendar blocked off so you make sure that you do them. Now, the same also applies to whether or not you're using somebody else for lead generation efforts. Make sure that they are synced with you about the importance of this number one topic. Make sure that their lead generation efforts are in the calendar. If you're asking them or paying them to do certain things, whatever that may be, lead generation or prospecting wise, make sure that they're putting it in their calendar, just like you're putting it in yours, and make sure that that is blocked off. Now, this one topic, as simple as it is, and as you would think it would be a no-brainer to automatically carry it over and continue to do it, you'd be amazed how many times people don't. You'd be amazed that they do find themselves in a little bit of a post-holiday slumber, and it affects how fast they start their sales year. And when we look back at that and we diagnose it, we do a little bit of a post-mortem on what happened. This is one of the issues that comes up a lot. Well, the first week of the year, I was just easing in back after the holidays. And, the second week I started getting back up to speed, but then these other hot buttons or issues came up that I had to deal with. And the reason that the prospecting got pushed off was I had to deal with that. That was urgent, or this client had a problem. And the next thing they know, they're 2/3 of the way through January. They haven't truly dedicated the time towards prospecting and lead generation that they needed to. And as a result, they're behind the eight ball. They're behind trending on the numbers that they need to accomplish. So number one, make sure that your prospecting and lead generation efforts are set in your calendar for the year and block them off. If you haven't done that yet, make sure after listening to this VIP call that you go ahead and do it. Go back and watch our most recent podcast episode of the Impact Sales Podcast. We talk about these things at length as well. But that's number one. So what's number two? Here's a great one. This is one that people don't do, but it's an easy no-brainer thing to do, but they skip over it sometimes. Is, look, it's a new year. Reconnect and refresh communication with your entire sales pipeline. Now, I don't mean just the people that are close to maybe closing and moving forward with you. I don't mean just the people that you made a proposal to and you're trying to just kind of test the waters and see where they are. I'm talking about everybody. Reconnect and refresh communication with all of them. Connect with them. Find out how they are, what's going on, what things look like right now post holidays with them. You'd be amazed how many times people skip over this one and then they realize or find out later on that, oh, if I had only reached out to this person in January, they were ready to go. They find out later that they either won the business later and they could have had it earlier, or worse yet, they lose the opportunity to work with that person because they maybe worked with somebody else. And it was simply a matter of engagement. They didn't engage them again. So number two on the list, and this is an important one, reconnect and refresh communication with your entire sales pipeline. Now, you don't have to go in there and how I feel about this, certainly as it relates to the sales process. You don't have to go in there guns a-blazing talking about how, where things stand as far as the last time you spoke to them and, the proposal you made, the quote you gave them, whatever it is, or whether or not they've decided or whether or not their budget is available. You don't have to do that, but start the dialogue, get reconnected with them. If you're struggling to fill your calendar, reconnect with anybody that's in your sales pipeline and see what you can make happen. And I want to give you all something real quick before we move on to the next topic in this. I want to give you all this thought. one of the things that I've used, and I still believe it's so important to do and genuinely mean, is I would reach out to people and say, look, I was thinking about you over the holidays. I wanted to check in, see how you were doing, see how the new year is starting for you, and just kind of reconnect and see what I can do to help you, and just leave it there and see where the conversation organically goes. Now, sometimes obviously it's not going to go where you'd like it to go. They may not be ready. You may not be able to reach them. Those things happen. But reconnecting and refreshing. Hey, Sam, how are you? Reconnecting and refreshing communication with your entire pipeline will help certainly jumpstart your new year. So what about number 3? What's the third thing that you need to do? Now, this is one, if you remember back to Impact Sales Mastery, that we talked about early on. I think it was in session 2 or 3. We talked about the importance of how we do this. And this is something that you certainly want to do at the beginning of a year. Reconnect with business associates and contacts that you haven't spoken to lately. Now, I'm not talking about people that are in your active pipeline. I'm talking about people that just you haven't connected to recently. Maybe an old business associate, an old colleague, friend, family member. All of the people that we talked about in Impact Sales Mastery that create either your personal or your professional list, start reconnecting with these people. Okay. Start reconnecting with them. Now, I want to, of course, remind you, and I know you guys all know this from ISM, but I want to remind you that when you reconnect with them, it's not about you. It's not about your product, your service, your offering. It's not about any of that. It's about them. Start the conversation about them, how they are, what they need, what they're looking for, what their thoughts are about the new year, what they think the year is going to bring. And you will find through that process of communication, 2 things will happen. The first will be you'll create opportunities to eventually tell them how you are and what you're thinking. And the second is going to be that you're probably going to have the opportunity to eventually talk about your business. And there might be a synergy there. There might be something for you to be able to offer them or do with them or do for them that will be good for your business, right? But the ultimate goal in this whole process, reconnecting with them, making it about them, the ultimate goal is to hopefully get them re-engaged on the topic of sharing warm and friendly introductions, right? We talk about this a lot, warm and friendly introductions as opposed to just referrals, right? And warm and friendly introductions coming out of the holidays should be something that should be relatively easy to do. Man, I wish I had $1 for every time somebody said to me at the beginning of a year, I met somebody at a holiday party and I really think you would benefit from meeting this person. And sometimes it led to business, sometimes it didn't lead to business, but people meet people over the holidays, they interact with people, and it's usually in a nice, friendly environment. And you're going to find that it really works nicely towards generating warm and friendly introductions. But this is a big deal because when you look at these 4 areas of how to get a fast start, sometimes we have all the well intentions of the new year working in the back of our head, right? We're excited about it. We're, all the mistakes we made in the previous year, we're not going to make in the new year. We're going to get a good start. We're going to make this year our best year ever. We have all these thoughts, all these affirmations in our head about what it's going to look like in the new year because the slate's now clean. But the problem with a lot of it, and I'm not saying that that's not important, it is very, very important. The problem with a lot of it, and this goes right back to this core element in ISM, the problem with a lot of it is we do it all ourselves. We put it upon ourselves, on our shoulders, on our back. We have to make it all happen, right? And ultimately, we're responsible, but we don't have to do it all ourselves. And the reason why I like to remind people of reconnecting with business associates and contacts that you have to start off a new year is the sooner you can re-inject warm and friendly introductions into your prospecting, into your pipeline development, into your client acquisition system, the less that pressure is on you personally to make things happen. So to get those warm and friendly introductions, they come from other people. So we have to reach out. We have to engage. We have to see how they are and check in with them and make it sincerely about them to kind of prime that pump to get things going again. And this is such an important point towards kicking off the new year. I've seen people set up their entire years from a really fast start at the beginning of the year, re-engaging people, generating some referrals, and landing some really monster prospects as a result. But one thing I can promise you is that if you don't go back and re-engage people, if you don't go back and nurture those relationships, if you don't go back and make it about them and not seem self-serving, you probably won't get warm and friendly introductions as easy. And you know this because we've talked about it and we went through it in the training. But the fact is, yes, you can go and ask for them yourself. You can go and ask for referrals. You can reach out to people and try to pick up referrals. But there is not a process more powerful than going out there and engaging people sincerely about them and their needs and figuring out what those things are first. If you really want to generate warm and friendly introductions, if you help a lot of people get what they're looking for, I promise you, they're going to help you get what you're looking for. But it has to start with you. You have to put yourself out there. Now, I'll tell you, I like this one a lot simply because I'm a big fan of getting that, many hands make light work concept working for you. It shouldn't all be just you. So the faster you re-engage people and talk to people and, talk about what's going on with them and how you can assist them, the faster you get back on track to getting more warm and friendly introductions. And just because you may have talked to them last year about this or last month about it, doesn't mean you can't have that conversation again. And I encourage you to make sure that you do that. So number 4 on this list, and the last of the 4, if you want to have a fast start and kick off your year the right way, reach out to all of your clients, every single one, and ask them how you can help them accomplish their goals for the year. Now, this one's going to take a couple of minutes to unpack because this one rubs people the wrong way sometimes. I know this is going to seem strange when I say it, but it's absolutely true. There are a lot of people that are nervous about calling their clients. They're nervous about reaching out to somebody and speaking to a client. And the reason is sometimes they're afraid that if they call that person, that person may say that they no longer need, want, or have to have their service or their product. And as a result, it's kind of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I hope I'm not rubbing anybody the wrong way by saying that. But sometimes people feel that way. They think, well, if I don't hear from them, they're still using us. They're still paying us. I don't want to rock the boat, right? And they don't reach out to their clients. I know it's strange. It's counterintuitive, but it does happen. So not only do we want to avoid that, but we want to, just like we did with reaching out to contacts and business associates, we want to definitely reach out to all of our clients. Now, why is that so critical at the beginning of the year? And why should it be geared again towards them? Well, I think I spent enough time talking about why their needs are a bit more important. It's going to put them in the right frame of mind to give you a warm and friendly introduction. But there are other elements to why reaching out with your clients is such an important step. I'll tell you, right at the top of the list, it's this idea of additional revenue or selling to your client that is interesting, because no matter what your product set is, sometimes there's opportunities to upsell a client or do more work with them or expand the relationship, add more revenue, whatever it may look like. Well, the only way you're going to know what that is, honestly, what the opportunity may be as far as how they look at it, is if you ask them what their goals are for the year. What are they trying to accomplish? Maybe their goals align with your particular product set. Maybe there's a way of you helping them accomplish their goal and it benefits your business. But if you don't reach out to them, if you don't re-engage them at the beginning of the year and figure out what that is, you may never know, or you may find out too late what their goal was, and you may miss an opportunity. So the positives far outweigh any negatives. Number one, You may just enhance the relationship with that client, which they may love and appreciate you for. That's a win. You may create new opportunities for yourself through warm and friendly introductions from your client, who, by the way, should be the most likely to want to refer people to you because they love working with you because you do great work. And it's very easy for them to understand the value. And then they can easily make that warm and friendly introduction. That's the second area. That's a win. The third, quite honestly, is it may lead to those additional revenue opportunities for you. If your offerings or services help them accomplish their goals, and you now are at that right place where you get to re-engage them again in an impact-focused way, you now are right back belly to belly selling with them again. And sometimes people misunderstand how important that is, even if it doesn't go anywhere. You know, you all understand the importance of becoming the trusted advisor for your clients. Well, if you're not asking them at the beginning of the year what their goals for the year are, somebody will. Somebody will. And I know I've learned that lesson the hard way. There's been times, of course, where I missed the opportunity to do some of these things, and it cost me. There were relationships that I lost. There were clients that I lost because somebody else positioned themselves better because maybe they asked that question and I didn't. So it's important that you keep that in mind. So I just want to quickly review these again before we jump into the Q&A. 4 specific things to create a fast sales start to the new year. Number 1 was make sure that your prospecting and lead generation efforts are set in your calendar for the year. Block them off. If you're working with a third party to help you with those things, make sure their efforts are in the calendar, blocked off. Make sure that you don't forget to do it. Make sure you don't skip it, because if you don't fill your calendar with it, something else will fill your calendar and it won't get done. That's number 1. Number 2, reconnect and refresh communication with your entire sales pipeline. If there's somebody that you've talked to about sales before, no matter where they are, whether they are almost ready to close or whether it's early days, reconnect and refresh with them beginning of the year. Connect with everybody in your entire sales pipeline, because it will absolutely create opportunities for you by simply doing it. Just by connecting, people will appreciate it. You'll find that opportunities will present themselves. You're creating another engagement, which creates another opportunity. You all have heard me say this, and you all probably are aware of this, but studies have shown that the average client will need a certain number of touches before they'll ever work with you. That number might be just a few. It might be a few dozen of interactions or contacts or points of visibility. So get another one out of the way and reconnect and refresh communication with your entire sales pipeline. Number 3, reconnect with business associates and contacts that you haven't spoken to lately. Make it about them. Again, make it about them and work on getting warm and friendly introductions. Okay. Just because you've done this with them in the past doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again. You should reconnect with them immediately after the holidays anyway, see how they are, check in with them, make sure that they're set up for a good year. You never know where it may go. Again, engagement is the name of the game. And finally, as I just said just a minute ago, reach out to all your clients and ask them how you can help them accomplish their goals for the year. Now, I know as we go through jumpstarting the new year, there is a long list of things that we all want to address. And that list includes things that we didn't get done last year, things that we know we have to get done this year, things we hope we can get done, right? But don't fall victim to revisiting that list over and over again and then skipping over some mission critical things that can help you get a fast start. And as I said at the beginning, this list is not meant to be super complicated. In fact, it's the other way around. It's designed to be simple, easy to follow. Focus on those 4 things, and you'll find that you'll get a much faster start to your new sales year. So that's our 2023 kickoff as far as what we wanted to talk about for this VIP call. and I want to open things up for questions. So what questions do you guys have for me? It can be about this topic. It can be about any topic. I haven't done one of these calls in a couple of weeks, so I'm charged, ready to go, ready to answer questions. So what questions do you guys have for me? Who's got something? Oh man, quiet bunch. The holiday slumber continues. Anybody? Yes, Sam? Sam, you probably have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Oh, I thought I did.
There you go.
I
How are
did.
you?
Oh,
Happy New
okay.
Year.
Hi. Happy New Year, everybody. So as you know, I've been listening to you on repeat because I've been behind.
I'm very, very
If you were to
sorry.
recommend, that's okay. No, it's great. It's great. If you were to recommend that we go back and just like hyper focus on even sections within the specific weeks of our weekly calls prior, or even just general topics, like
Yeah.
just like for the Cliff Notes version, what
Yeah.
weeks would you recommend?
Oh man. Well,
I
that's a
mean,
tough
all
one to
of them,
answer
right?
because
But
they're all some very specific, some very specific things that are in there. So I definitely would go back to anything related to the prospecting and client acquisition system stuff.
okay,
We talk a lot about the two things that tend to be most broken when people are struggling with sales. Client acquisition system is one, and then the sales process is the other. I think all the sessions are important, Sam, but I mean, I would definitely go there. And the
okay,
reason I default to that is, you know, if you have that really humming, it gives you stuff to work with. You can work on the other stuff as you go forward.
right,
Like,
right,
your sales process stuff doesn't have to be perfect. If you're getting plenty of opportunities, you're still going to be making progress. So I would definitely
right.
start there. Um, I think it's going to depend a little bit on what you're doing. And of course you can go back and watch those recordings anytime you want, but I would focus on those
Okay,
as a quick answer.
awesome. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. And on that subject, just to update you guys real quick, I'm right in the process finally of finalizing the online access to Impact Sales Mastery. It's all been loaded into our system, into our high level system. And as soon as I have all of that dialed in and complete here, I'm hoping by Monday it'll be all complete. I'm going to send you all a link where you won't have to go to the individual recordings on YouTube. You can actually just access the whole program right in download form. Just watch the recordings anytime you want. It'll all be in the system for you. So that'll be coming out certainly no later than early next week. You'll have that. I'm just refining a few things on the system and what the format looks like. So you'll see it shortly. Okay.
Okay, wait, I
Great.
have a question. Oh, or should I
Yes,
chat
Susie.
to you later about that? Or should I talk about that now?
Oh, you can ask me anything.
Okay, so about that, putting them all in one place. So
Mhm.
I use the YouTube links for a lot of posts.
Mhm.
I do it regularly. Do you want me to keep after are those going to be uploaded as well to the new site, or are we still using the links from YouTube?
No, you still use look, as far as sharing information about Impact Sales Mastery or the Sales Activist, still use the YouTube stuff that you're given outside of obviously the Impact Sales Mastery course stuff. The course itself is what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Our individual courses, the coursework outside of marketing, all the coursework stuff is going to be in the system. Everything else is marketing. It'll be on YouTube and you can use it that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Question for you, Joe.
Yes, Adonis.
Um, Met with a marketing agency yesterday, and spoke to her about the sales activist. She said that she would be interested in seeing some marketing material, or at least seeing some of what we do. What do you recommend in terms of what we share specifically with them? Do you have something ready to go?
Sure. What I would recommend, and I think you guys see what we're doing. I think there's good snippets in any Impact Sales Live event that's on YouTube, as well as any of the VIP calls that are on the YouTube channel. I think those are great resources. So I would say, get them to subscribe to the YouTube channel and point them in the direction of anything that says Impact Sales Live or Impact Sales VIP. And the reason why is they can get much longer form content that will be shared, that gives them a little kind of snippets of Impact Sales Mastery without getting into all the details. But there's a lot of them out there now. There's certainly a dozen, maybe close to 24 different things that they could go in there and look and get some samples of the type of stuff that we do.
Yeah, I'll send her some of the ones that I've enjoyed. But I didn't know if there was anything specific that you were like, hey, buy the book.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I just want them to know like what's included, what's promised, everything that's involved.
Yeah, and and the one thing that I know you all get this about the program and our focus here. So much of what we talk about is absolutely more function over form, meaning it doesn't have to be the prettiest. It doesn't have to be the most put together. Like, that's never, ever going to be what we want to be about, because sometimes people, in the search for perfection, they lose results. They're trying to make it look pretty, but at the end of the day, they're not getting the results that they need. Will always be function over form. It will always be that way. So I don't have a problem with you sharing anything that's out there on the YouTube channel, the social media channels. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and there's even more coming related to it. If it's something that they shouldn't be seeing, it'll be tagged as private and they won't be able to see it anyway.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we have, just as an extension of that, one of the projects that we worked on a little bit over the holiday, in addition to the course stuff, is, we're building a short form video campaign with short videos, a bunch of them under a minute to be able to hit all the real platforms. And then a couple, in that 2 to 3 minute range for easy sharing. And you guys will obviously be copied on all that stuff that you can share and utilize. And, we have a bunch of different things that we're building to support what we're doing. So stay tuned for some more releases on that stuff as well.
I'll do.
Awesome. Other questions, guys? What else do you have for me? I'm going to throw something else out that I think is relevant. It's certainly for this time of year that people encounter quite a bit. And we were just talking about this earlier, and it's true in every industry. It just happens. There's always these deals that just kind of run out of steam or gas at the end of the year, right? There's these prospects that, man, we thought for sure they were going to close by the end of the year. And I know I got a list of them. I got a bunch of them for different things. I know you guys do as well. We just think that they're going to be there and they don't materialize. Well, the one thing that I want to make sure that we review, because we've talked about this in ISM, but it's so true. When you go through what we'll call a longer or more of an extended delay, such as a couple of weeks over the holiday, anything that's more than just a week, as far as a delay, there's a significant difference between where they were as a prospect before that delay and where they probably are now after it. And I want to make sure that we just review and cover for you real quick the importance of getting your prospects back to the emotional place that they were when you were first talking to them. You know, one of our Achilles heels as humans is, you know, we want to obviously complete things, and at the same time we also want to feel a sense of accomplishment. And what happens sometimes is we have these prospects that linger, and then a little time goes by, and then we go back and we try to re-engage them. And I'm not even saying this is conscious. This is probably even subconscious in some regards. We re-engage with them, and for whatever reason, we want to fast track right back to the point of them saying yes or no and us signing them as a client, right? I mean, it's human nature. We want to. I know. I feel the same thing. We have to fight and resist that temptation when it comes to these things. Yes, we want to get back there, but do it the right way. Go back and reconnect with them the right way. I'm not saying start the whole process over, but I am saying let's get back and remind them using what they've already shared, why we were talking to them in the first place. If we followed ISM, if we followed the impact focused questions, we should have a nice little list of things to go back and revisit with them about why these things are important, why the product you offer, the service you have is important, what it means to them, what impact it has on them. Let's make sure that we go back and remind those folks of those things, because I believe that there's a lot of prospects that just they lose sight of it as time goes by. A vast majority will. And, you know, I'm not saying it's everybody, because there's always going to be some people that are laser focused and it's just the timing didn't work and they're just as laser focused when you reconnect. But the vast majority of people won't be. And I share that so all of you recognize the opportunity in turning that around. You've got to get them back to that same emotional place. Get them back across that impact line that we talk about so much, and talk to them about moving forward after you've had that conversation again. Because if you have that conversation when you haven't had them in that emotional place, your likelihood for success, remember where they are in the pyramid now, they're in neutral. Like they are, I don't want to say they're not engaged, but I'm going to say that they are less than interested only because of time. They could have had 100 different things happen to them since the last time you spoke, since the last time they seriously thought about working with you. And one of the lessons that I think is important for everybody to take is, you know, when that happens, it is up to you to get them back to that same emotional place. And if you can do it, your likelihood for success is very, very high. But if you don't, I will tell you, your likelihood for success is the exact opposite. It's extremely low. You may get some clients that just reconnect and say, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. But the vast majority of them, especially in a high ticket sale, they're thinking about 100 other things, or have since you talked to them last. So get re-engaged and get them in that same emotional place. And I wanted to add that because I think it coincides very nicely with what we were talking about today with getting a fast start. Don't miss these opportunities that are out there that you could convert because, you know, we didn't do the job well enough. We cut it short. And again, it might even just be subconscious, but let this serve as a reminder that you don't want to do that to yourself. Okay. I just wanted to add that. What other questions do you guys have? Okay. Well, that was what I had to cover. What I wanted to also share real quick, I wanted to remind you guys to let me know what topics you want to cover on the VIP. Right now, I've got a clean slate. I've got a couple of topics, but they're not specifically time sensitive. They don't have to happen immediately. So if you have something that you want us to review in these VIP calls and spend some time on it again, just let me know. We'll make sure that we incorporate it into the VIP call, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A afterwards. But if you guys don't have any more questions, we can wrap it up here. If you need me, you know how to reach out to me. And I look forward to catching you all on next week's VIP. And if you need help with something, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe.